Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Muktananda. Welcome, Stephanie, to Monday with Muktananda. Muktananda, let's start today.
Yes, Stephanie. Nice to be here.
Let's start today with explaining. I would love for you to explain to our listeners how you got your name, because this is not your birth name. It's your spiritual name. And I would love for you to explain that, because I'm sure there are some people out there who are curious about it.
Yes, I'm happy to. The name was given to me by my guru, Sai Ma. She's an enlightened spiritual master, great healer with esoteric powers. I was engaged by her organization to come in and do some consulting and organizational work. At that time, I didn't know anything about Sai Ma. And so in the course of that work, I got to meet her. I became very enamored with the work because I had already been doing pretty high energy work, and she was taking it to a much deeper level and increasing my understanding. And part of my orientation to her organization was to spend some time in India with her and some of her disciples. And it was during that period when I went through a major transformation into light. And with that awakening, then Sai Ma said, I give you the name Muktananda. Now, Muktananda means the bliss of liberation. And of course, there's a very famous saint named Muktananda, so it's a great honor to have that namesake. And it proved to be a great blessing in this sense. My birth name was Michael, and the tradition is that the spiritual name you're given by your guru begins with an M, as Michael begins with an M. And she chose Muktananda. But as I was going through my own evolution and growth in consciousness and confronting old patterns and ways of being, ego-based stuff, basically, I had this interesting dialogue going on between my ego, Michael, and my alter non-ego, Muktananda. And so I was more like, who am I going to identify with? Because as I was moving into higher dimensions of consciousness, operating at a higher frequency, clearly I would ask myself, what would Muktananda do? And most of the time it isn't what Michael would do. So that was a fantastic way to experience the contrast that I might not have ever experienced in quite that way. So in that respect, it was also a blessing. And that's it. That's how I came about getting the name.
Wonderful. So what's a guru?
Well, that's a good question, because, you know, the word is thrown around today. Everybody's a guru. Its Sanskrit origins mean the one who takes you from darkness to light. Gu, darkness, ru, light. And so from a spiritual context, that's what it means. But there are many, many gurus in India who are really just, let me scratch the word just, who are teachers, but they aren't enlightened. So when you work with an enlightened master with esoteric knowledge, the game is far more powerful, because Sai Ma actually took me into the light. She didn't just describe it, or I'll tell you what happened is I was sitting with her and some of her other disciples. We were sitting around. She had been doing some journaling about Lord Krishna. And she asked me if I would like to read what she had written. And I said, of course. So she handed me this book, and I noticed she has this beautiful penmanship. But what happened is, as I began to read the words, none of which I remember at this point, I remember my breath slowing down. In fact, everything slowed down. And I started to move into a different dimension of consciousness. That's the best way I can describe it. And then so she gently took the book out of my hand. And then she raised her hands like this in front of me, and I went into brilliant, brilliant white light. And in that state, which lasted, I don't know how long, everything became clear to me, is the only way I can put it. Why I'm here, what I'm doing here, what I'm meant to be doing here. But it was really my home, my natural state of being. From that we come, and that's to what we go. Now, how can we remember that and then be that? And that's what a real guru does. A guru brings you into the light that you are. And that's the way you know you've got a real guru.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for explaining it and defining it in accordance with the holiness and the power of the word. Because like many things, it has, the word itself has become so diluted and devoid of the meaning it's intended to have. And I feel like you've restored it.
Well, thank you. That's wonderful.
Beautiful. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about our mother, Pachamama. Through knowing me and through my work and what I have shared with you, that my connection to the planet, the planetary frequency, vibrations, energy, and life is constant, ongoing, always. Sometimes it makes me cry, tears of great joy and elation. Sometimes it's just the opposite of sadness, loss, grief, and overwhelm, depending on whatever I'm kind of attuned to or focused on in the moment and where my thoughts are, and where I'm activated in my journey. So today, for example, I'm very present to the request from Mother Earth for us to stop dousing her with chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, whatever it might be. I feel this every day. She tells me this every day. And every day I have the reminders of the presence of this, because on every other lawn in my neighborhood is a sign that says, wait till it's dry so you don't die. I mean, it doesn't say the second part, but but there's in South Florida, lots of bugs, and we're semi-tropical here, so our landscaping is literally beat into submission all of the time, along with all of the living creatures and critters that we share the planet with. This is a rough place for me to be, for somebody who is a planetary empath, a plant empath, an animal empath. So, and in light of Mother's Day coming up and the mother heart, I want to talk about and, share from my perspective and hear from your perspective, because your book talks about the tears of Gaia. That's the subtitle. What is your perspective on what our mother is needing from us, asking of us? What's the deal there, according to your sense for things?
Well, I would say that the earth in its current condition is a reflection of our state of consciousness. And that's why I call it the tears of Gaia. No mother could possibly be happy with the state of the planet, the condition of the environment. And so I make the case that if we are going to, and I call it Anthropocene because that ties it to the age we're in, which is the age of humans. So the condition of the planet is the consequence of human activity. And so, and the danger being that, the danger to humans would be that we create an extinction event through our own lack of awareness, lack of care. Will the planet survive? Most definitely. Probably Mother Gaia would just say, you know what, I'm done with you guys. You just made a mess of it. You go away. There have been 5 previous mass extinctions. One more, no big deal. We'll recover. Everything will be beautiful again. However, that's not a very inspiring story. The inspiring story is that we are here, those of us who have an awareness to understand and see, to actually make a difference. Now, part of the difference is all of the environmental activity that people are engaged in. And we have some really wonderful people who are doing that, but also just how do we hold the frequency, the higher frequency of light that we are, and live and breathe that. Because when we are because we are all connected energetically and with Mother Gaia. So when we actually practice that recognition, and how do we practice it? Well, through meditation, through breathing, through yoga, through chanting. There are so many ways in which we can connect with our source. Then we eat differently, we consume differently, we think about what we're doing and the consequences it's having differently. So, big part of what needs to happen is a major shift in consciousness. And actually, I see that happening. Now, that may seem strange because, in a sense, the forces of light, the higher frequency energy, are actually rising, which amplifies that darkness that is there where it's not being awakened. And where is it going to go? I don't know. But the fact you're an empath, this hits you at a core level that is painful. It hits me at a core level and spurs me to action. So it hits us in different ways. But all of us are here who are light workers precisely because that's what's needed at this time. We are here by choice. We sort of knew what we were signing up for, but you can't really know it until you're in it. You can't really, I mean, you see so many people committing suicide, young people, because and this is just one way of interpreting it. They come here as beings of light, and they get here and it's like, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I know that I'm not trying to trivialize the angst and the pathos that it creates for families, etc. But as souls, why would you want to be here? Because the energy and the frequency in so much of this world is at a very, very low, dark level. My work is to strengthen us as beings of light. Help people strengthen their ability to hold that frequency and to be in action guided by it. But that's a big part of what we need. And the Greta Thunbergs of the world are just amazing. And more of her are showing up. And divine feminine energy is on the rise. And that will create more of an energetic balance. And women have a very different way of dealing with life because life births through them. So they have a much, much more present feel for what it means to create and the pain of destruction. So there's a lot of forces that are awakening right now, and we want to align ourselves with that.
Yes. And in defense of the empaths, we are not just here to feel. We are here to feel and let that be our activation. Because as you are in service to bringing light and guiding others in light, me too, and so many others who identify as empaths. So I know that it can feel, for those that are highly sensitive beings and feel very deeply, a huge task to feel that way, and also to be activated towards the cause or causes that really propel us forward. But that's the purpose, I believe, of feeling.
Without a question, I was only referring to the suffering that you experience, and that, and that's for that I have the compassion. That's what I was getting at.
I got you, Muktananda. I know. Yeah, and it really is. I do want to give a shout out to those who identify as empaths, because there are really good books on this topic to help us to get our energies, think of it maybe kind of compressing it so we can deliver it in a way that is the most impactful and the most powerful. And I know that when I'm really agitated by something, that's a signal for me. Where does this belong? How does this go? It's not meant to fester on the inside and eat away at me or create, whatever type of internal distress it might. And for all of us, it's something very different. But to bring energy, it's to bring more energy, help us to direct that in the way that will be of the greatest service. So that's always my question is, as I walk around my neighborhood and I start to get incensed at the use of chemicals and how widespread they are, and that many people do not know enough about the damaging effects of them. And then I can very easily get in my mind with because for a while I have felt like this cause is too damn big. How am I going to educate or make a change in something that is so mainstream acceptable right now that you can just go to Home Depot and buy a can of toxins and douse your whole piece of the earth with it and not think twice about it. And then my mind says, well, is that really your cause, Stephanie? Or is this your cause? Because that other thing is my cause too. And then there's the causes over here. And so it's all of it. It's all of it. It's all at the same time. Sometimes it's a really rich and beautiful way to be and to live. And it's full and big. And we can get a lot done and find our people, our beings, both in the skin and in the non-form, to support us in this. I have guides that siphon off some of that for me.
Yes.
And thank goodness. And we all do. We all have help and support for that. And then I have guides that say, okay, sister, let's break this down a little bit. You're all in a kerfuffle about it, but what's the thing? What's the one thing for right now that's causing this distress? And it might be a particular species. Sometimes that's it for me, or animal or plant or whatever it is that I want to get behind and really improve the understanding around, or really lend, like you said, compassion and support to. So, yes.
But I see you as an activist. Your work is raising the frequency of light for so many people. That's primary. That's fundamental. And then you have your activism, your environmental activism, and so just spawn more of you. I'll spawn more of me, and everyone on this call will spawn more of them, and that's how it works.
We're spawning. Yes, I love that. Yeah, and that's really what it is. And I've noticed that it takes a certain level of willingness to be very vulnerable. I'm speaking personally here. Um, because this is, for me, this is like the soft underbelly of me. This is where I feel the deepest, when it comes to our planet, when it comes to our mother, when it comes to what I've come in knowing as a soul is my responsibility to her, to protect, to restore, to promote health and well-being, to take a stand for, it requires not being in hiding and not just seething quietly in my head when I see things that are not okay, that are unacceptable, that need to be spoken to. And it's so easy in our current culture, whether you attribute it to patriarchal culture or whether you attribute it to um, just that it can feel very scary to to bring a platform and stand upon it, because we are constantly exposed to such a divisiveness and an encouragement of that, where people can be literally, it looks like they're taken down or taken out or brought to their knees by just those who are in dissonance with what they're saying. Or there's such a, it seems like there's been a carte blanche issued through the platforms of social media to be as nasty as you want to be, say whatever you want to say unfiltered, bring it all. It's all, you don't even have to identify yourself. And we all know this and feel this and see it. And it's yet another call. Now we're here, we need to create the safe, sacred communities within the constructs of social media, I believe, where that there's not a space for that. We're not taking each other down or out. We're building, and where we don't know, we need to learn. And as we know better, we do better, like Maya Angelou says. So that's my soapbox for where I'm at right now. I've been writing lately in blogs. That is a much more tender place for me to be of sharing. And for example, one of my blogs was published today, and I forget, because Ryan does such a good job of keeping everything orderly. So I forget sometimes what I've written. And then when it's published a week or two later, I'm like, oh God, I can't believe that's out now. What have I done? And then I hear my guide say, we told you to write this and you wrote it. We told you to send it, down the pipeline so that others might resonate with it. And you did so. Good job. Move along.
Yes, yeah. And it's not an issue to feel anger if you have awareness. Mm-hmm. You can be angry without attachment. So you're not personalizing it and directing it in a negative way, but you're expressing emotion in order to be heard. Mm. Now, most people haven't developed that ability, but it's not like you just have to be passive, very, what's the word? Pacific. You have something to say, you're concerned, and it's a wake-up call. And you put what you're knowing with some emotion behind it, and it may sound like it's anger, but you are not identifying with the anger. You are simply being what needs to be said. Not even Stephanie anymore. You are a channel. Yeah. In that sense. And everyone can learn and be that. But what you're talking about on social media, that's just I call it ego masturbation. It's just there's no consciousness behind it at all. And there's no discipline of thinking. Mm. That is a discipline.
Yes. Yes. It's something I'm definitely learning and working on, is how to feel the intensity of the emotional energy and not immediately go into blame, finger pointing, shaming, guilting, etc. It's such a natural, immediate go-to, I think, for many of us. So you're right. It's a discipline
And
to.
I was listening to, I don't know who I was listening to, NPR something this morning, and talking about people are feeling less and less shame. In the past, people might feel some shame when they behave in that way. Now people don't even care.
Yeah.
So
There's
we've got tremendous opportunity. There's
yeah,
no room for boredom.
exactly. It is. It's such a rich time to be alive, and to be awakening. And it's our work, and it's why we're here. And we can do so in a celebratory way. This is what I keep hearing from my channeled messages, is that, yeah, we call this hard work, and we do take ourselves very seriously. And but what if we're also meant to celebrate at the same time all of the everything that we're doing, the teeny tiny baby steps, and even the whatever we see to be perceived to be the mistakes, because that's where the fullness of the human soul integrated experiences.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you, Muktananda.
Thank
I
you, Stephanie.
appreciate you. I told Muktananda before we got on this call, I am really grumpy. And he said, "Oh, great." But I always feel better after talking to you. So there is a process of transmuting energy that you and I have together. So I am truly honoring that and enjoying that. And thank you.
Thank you.
Until next time.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.